The Vision High School Sports Beat is brought to you by the 11 locally owned Vision Automotive Group dealerships, offering Buick GMC, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Hyundai, Kia, and Nissan, and the resale division, with locations in Webster, Henrietta, Penfield, Fairport, Canandaigua, Ontario, and Palmyra, and online at visionauto.com. Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the Vision High School Sports Beat. I'm Bill Pucko. Every week at this time, we take a comprehensive look at sports in Section 5 and Monroe County. Begin with our honor roll of high school teams. At number 3 this week, Churchville Chi-Li Cross Country. At the Wayne Invitational, the Saints had the top local Division I female finisher in Haley Arguin, who finished 15th. While the boys, as a team, finished 7th overall in the field of 30, led by Peyton Gleason, who was 5th, and Peter Costarellis, who was 9th. At number 2, Webster Schrader football, off to a 3-0 start. Quarterback Breeze Segala threw for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns to Mike Masucci, who scored 3 times himself. And at number 1, HFL girls volleyball. The Cougars beat Pittsford Sutherland in a straight-set battle of unbeatens. Grace Schlebov had 11 kills. HFL is 6-0. Entering the 2017 boys soccer season, Churchville Chi-Li was faced with 2 primary concerns. Pretty big ones, actually. Coming into the new season, it didn't appear the Churchville Chi-Li Saints had much going for them on the soccer field. Their top scorer, Marko Matrevsky, graduated, and there was no heir apparent. And their senior goalkeeper was coming off the most difficult year of his life. Last fall, Alex Vogelweed was diagnosed with leukemia. He underwent a bone marrow transplant and chemotherapy. Coming back to play just a year later appeared out of the question.
I didn't honestly think I would be back at soccer just because I went from like almost 8-9 months without doing any physical activity to getting back out here and running around again, so it shocked me.
And I wasn't even sure if he'd be in net ever again, just knowing what he went through. He went through so much last year. So when he got there, you could see it. You could see little pieces. He was reading the game well, but he was laid off his line. He was, he took 14 months off and lost so much weight in that offseason. So his strength wasn't there. His timing wasn't there. Well, we lost our first 2 scrimmages, and in those scrimmages, we had a lot of goals scored on us. And some of it was Alex with timing, and some of it was our team we changed some things around after that. But every day, Alex has gotten better and better and better.
Yeah, captain's practice were interesting because I was really out of shape, so just every little run I would make, I would be huffing and puffing, but after a while it started coming back to me.
Vogelweed's return to health is paying dividends past his play in the nets.
Last year they all dyed their hair bleach blonde, and I couldn't tell who was who, honestly. For the first month of the season, until we put numbers on, I didn't know who was who. They were with him all along, so they went through it. It wasn't just Alex going through it. They were with him, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle for them emotionally. It was a struggle for them all watching him, a friend of theirs, someone they love, go through that. So yes, that has helped because on the field you see it. They play for each other.
The quick turnaround was crazy. Like last year at tryouts, he was diagnosed and he's been going through treatments this whole time. And then coming back to captain's practices and he's already ready to go is unbelievable.
Is having a guy like that on the team that's been through what he's been through make you push at what you're doing a little harder?
Yeah, I mean, having a player like that makes you realize everything that you have could be taken from you in a second. So, I mean, it just pushes you to take every moment.
Inside the other 18, there was still the matter of who was going to put the ball in the net.
I knew we'd be good from the 18 to the 18. But with Alex returning from everything he went through last year, I wasn't sure how he'd look, or so I wasn't sure about our goalie situation, and I wasn't sure who would score goals for us this year. So I knew we'd be a good team. I knew we'd be able to control the ball in the midfield. We have some really dynamic, quality midfielders. But I was unsure about the other stuff, and obviously those questions have been answered in a lot of different ways.
The answer as to who would score was everyone. Through their first 7 games, the Saints had 11 different goal scorers, none of whom appear among the league leaders.
At first, like during our first 2 scrimmages, we had trouble with that, and by the time of our first game, we adjusted so that we were putting a lot in the back of the net, and everyone's scoring, so it's great.
Times when you have the one guy on your team with like the big ego, and ends up like you guys don't play possession as much, people are taking more shots, and it just becomes less of a team sport.
A 7-0 start speaks for itself. At Churchville this year, they didn't reinvent the game, but they are playing it a little differently.
I told the guys, I don't think we have a guy on the roster that was going to score 15 or 20 goals. I said, but I really honestly believe that we have 6 or 7 or 8 guys who could score 6 or 7 or 8 goals, each of them. And if we did that, we could be really good. And as it turns out, it's happened through the first 6 games. We have 9 different goal scorers on 16 goals and 8 or 9 different guys chipping in assists, so everybody's doing it.
Churchville went to 7-0 with a 2-0 win over Greece Arcadia. Christian Vieira and Andrew Bove scored the goals, the first of the year for each. The Saints now have 18 goals from 11 different players. Coming up next, Paul Gotham with Picking Splinters joins us for the Dunkin' Donuts High School Notebook. Kim Burnson has our Wegmans Making the Grade segment when the Vision High School Sports Beat continues.
Dunkin' has lots of fall favorites to root for. Maple pecan, pumpkin, maple sugar bacon. But on game day, we root for one team. One team, baby. Win the fall, folks.
Welcome back to the Vision High School Sports Beat. It is now time for the Dunkin' Donuts High School Notebook. Paul Gotham from Pickin' Splinters is with us. Paul, not that anyone doesn't know, but tell us a little bit about the site, pickinsplinters.com.
Plenty of local coverage, particular here in the fall. We'll have a lot of high school coverage with soccer, and we'll go into basketball, boys basketball, and baseball in the spring, so a lot for people to read about.
Cool, and Kevin Klubsch's with you.
Yes, he is, and looking forward to having Kevin. We'll be covering the Amerks, the Red Wings, and RIT hockey on the site.
Very good. Looking forward to that. Look, we did a soccer story out at Churchville Chili this week, and among the things that we didn't get a chance to get into is just like game after game after game. They're undefeated, but every game is a struggle. I mean, even Eastridge has got a good team this year. There's so much balance, it seems, in the boys' sport right now.
Without question. When you look across the board, you've got a team like Greece Arcadia that has a couple losses that could sneak up on people very easily. Athena has won 3 straight sectional titles. I think Athena has a lot to worry about in the postseason when you're looking at teams like Brighton that's knocking on the door and an Arcadia that's right there behind them.
Yeah, and it's not an East-West thing. It's like it's all over. I mean, everywhere you go. When the DNC has their, the poll every week, number 1, knocked off, number 1, knocked off. First 3 weeks, the next game the number 1 team plays, they lose.
And it's funny how it happens. Of course, everybody's going to talk about the jinx, but it's just a matter of time. And once you have to wear that bullseye on your back, I think it gets a little heavy for kids, especially here early in the season when teams are trying to figure themselves out.
Yeah, who do you like especially? Is there a team that you've seen that said they get it, they do it well?
Hilton. Hilton has a lot of kids. They have a solid back line, solid up the middle. David Sturpey and the Wiest player, they're very solid up the middle, but they have kids up top who can attack and score, and they can beat you in a variety of attacks, whether it be possession style soccer or whether it be in the counterattack. They're very good in both aspects.
You know, at Fairport with a great history, I mean, they're back strong again. Even if they're a little overshadowed by the girls' team right now.
Sure. Well, and they showed that they're back when they beat Athena over the weekend, 2-0, and they looked good in that victory.
Well, that's very good. The soccer around here is not only great, but it's balanced, and that's like the perfect combination, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. And one team that nobody should forget about is McQuaid Jesuit. They received votes recently in a national poll. They're ranked top 5 in the states, and when you look at through their first 7 games, they've outscored teams 34-1.
Yeah, and we tend not to notice them because they're not playing the great county teams on a regular basis.
Right. Their one goal was on a penalty kick and a victory over Canisius, Section 6 power. They won that game 2-1. But you look at their back line, it's all seniors. And Nino Pilato in his second year, he'll talk about Alex Reali and how he wins all the 50-50 balls for that team, but he sets up a back line with an athletic goalie, Tommy Galena, along with Quinn Minnick and Mike Reedman and Dylan Duffy. It makes a solid core back there for them.
Paul Gotham, PickandSplinters.com. Thanks very much for joining us with the Dunkin' Donuts High School Notebook. Coming up, we salute our Wegmans Making the Grade nominee with Kim, and later, recreating the football culture in Irondequoit, when the Vision High School Sports Beat continues.
Welcome back, and thanks for watching the Vision High School Sports Beat. I'm Kim Burnson. It's time now for Making the Grade, brought to you by Wegmans. Wegmans is a proud supporter of Making the Grade, which highlights the accomplishments of Section 5 student athletes on and off the playing field.
Making the grade this week is Peyton Lill of Webster Schroeder. Peyton is a multi-sport athlete for the Warriors and trains year-round for both basketball and lacrosse. Last year as a junior, she found success in both sports and received multiple awards and recognitions for lacrosse. She's a 4-year varsity starter and earned her 3rd consecutive first-team All-County selection last spring. On top of that, she was a team MVP and was recognized as an All-Greater Rochester lacrosse team selection as a junior. As a midfielder, she recorded 48 goals and 17 assists in Section 5 play last season. She's a 3-time Brine All-American and aspires to play Division I lacrosse next year. Peyton also takes her talents and leadership to the court, where she led her team in scoring in some important games in the 2016 season. For stepping up her role as a leader and role model for her teammates, this week, Peyton Lill is making the grade.
If you have a student in mind for our Making the Grade segment, we want your nominations. You can send them in to info@classywolf.com. Now here's Bill with the Section 5 calendar.
Here is the Section 5 calendar for the week ahead. In boys soccer, on Tuesday at 6:30, East meets West with Brighton traveling to Brockport. On the girls' side, a great matchup on Friday with Greece Athena slides over to Spencerport under the lights at 6:15. Girls volleyball, Webster Schrader's at Victor. That's Tuesday at 6. Boys volleyball, a pair of note, Fairport at Victor Monday at 6. Penfield plays at Fairport. That match is Wednesday at 4:30. And that brings us to our football weekend, which actually begins with a couple of games on Thursday. The big ones are Friday at 7 o'clock when Irondequoit plays at Brockport. That's the best of the Section 5 calendar for the week ahead. Here are the Vision High School Sports Beat Top 5 High School Football Plays of the Week, brought to you in cooperation with Varsity Media. For the best local coverage in Section 5 sports, visit varsitymedia.net. Here are the top 5 plays of the week. We start at Irondequoit, facing Canandaigua, and the multi-purpose Freddie June getting wide. The quarterback for the Eagles, 65 yards for a touchdown. He ran for 182 in this game. He threw for 2 more touchdowns and 127 yards. We'll hear from Freddie in just a bit on the Vision High School Sports Beat. Number 4, Eastridge and Greece Athena. Sharon Davis to Justice Griffin, which is tipped to Jaden Turner. Just like they drew it up. 27 yards and a touchdown. Eastridge 39, Athena 21. At number 3, we have Brighton at Greece Arcadia. It is Barron's ball, and this is not going to go well for the visiting team. The pass in the flat is picked off pretty openly by Arias Cremiti. 75 yards back the other way for the pick 6. The tackle just a little bit too late. To number 2, the big game that was played at Webster Schrader, Hilton at Schrader, and the lethal passing combination of Breeze Segala to Mike Masucci. This is for 29 yards and a touchdown. Schrader, a big winner in this game, 34-7 over Hilton. And at number 1, played at SUNY Brockport, it's Webster Thomas at Churchville Chili. These are the eventual game-winning points as Dejir Muborn gets loose for the Saints. 48 yards for the touchdown, Churchville 20 and Thomas 19. Coming up, Irondequoit's dual threat quarterback and a change of football fortune there when the Vision High School Sports Beat continues. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the Vision High School Sports Beat, and I'm Bill Pucko. It is time now for our honor roll of high school athletes. At number 3 this week, Tyler Sinal. Penfield Cross Country. He was the top local finisher in the Wayne Invitational. He was 2nd overall. Boys placed 8th. Number 2, Karan Robinson of the Aquinas football team. He ran for 269 yards and just 11 carries for the Irish at Buffalo St. Joe's. At number 1, Becca Evans of Pittsford. Becca owns Section 5 bests in 3 individual events this year, the 50, the 100 freestyle, along with the 100 butterfly. You hear the team creating a winning culture often enough. It's a go-to expression, sort of like trusting the process. But the Irondequoit football program isn't just mouthing those words. It is putting the phrase creating a winning culture to work. Behind quarterback Freddie June.
Block. You got the B gap. Liam, you got this B gap. Next block. Everybody out. That call. Hey.
If nothing else, Chris Battaglia is the highest profile assistant coach in Section 5 football. 1 season removed from Aquinas, where he was the head coach and won 9 sectional titles. Putting ego aside, Irondequoit head coach Dan Fichter jumped at the opportunity to add Battaglia to his staff.
He's been on my short list for a long time. When you meet certain people in your coaching career, you always take a mental note and you go, you know what, I want to coach with that guy someday.
How big a difference can an assistant coach make?
Oh, a guy like that, I mean, he's great with kids. His knowledge base is incredible. It's been wonderful, for coaches included.
It is tough to quantify the impact of any one person on a coaching staff. Battaglia is technically in charge of the defense, which last year surrendered points in bunches. But his influence hasn't stopped there. Junior quarterback Freddie June is blossoming this season into one of the area's top dual threats. He is a markedly more accomplished passer this year.
Great decision. Good.
My mechanics on throwing. Like Coach Battaglia has helped me out a lot with my steps and stuff and helping me throw more and making me throw more.
June now uses his arm to set up his feet.
I like running a lot, but throwing feels to get me like loose. So like when I just get loose on the field, it like opens up my run more when I start passing. So it's both. I like both really, but running more I like.
How important is it to the team to have a guy back there who, is a double threat like that?
It's really important because like say my offensive line doesn't block, I can get up out of there and just make it easier for the team and get yards off of it.
His top target, 6'5" fellow junior Gerald Drumgoole.
Yeah, we're like brothers. I mean, on the field, on the court, off the court, we're brothers. We stay at each other's houses. We do everything together. It's just like we just have fun with each other.
This is actually Drumgoole's secondary season. Gerald is among the top high school basketball players in the section. He toyed with the idea of specializing, but this was just too much fun to be abandoned.
I just love the environment. I did it for my team. I thought personally I should play. I played last year, and I think me playing will help us out this season.
June plays basketball too. That team, you might remember, won a state championship last year. The football team is only too happy to tap into some of that.
I feel like this team has a lot more, we're like connected a lot better. We have a lot better chemistry as a team. Last year there was a lot of separate groups. This year it's really a team and everybody likes each other.
How does that happen?
I really don't know. Everybody worked out in the offseason together. I think the basketball team won the state title in the winter. I'm pretty sure everybody knows that at this point. And then everyone would go to the game. Some kids were on the team, so I feel like that has something to do with it a little bit.
John Dugan throws shot and discus. Many of these guys play other sports.
The more you compete in other sports and join other clubs, I think that's good for the whole development of the athlete.
And that you think the basketball team's success is paying dividends here this year?
No question. I'll take basketball players all day long. They have tremendous skill set in football. Their basketball practice helps us in football.
Irondequoit won the Section 5 Class A football championship 3 years ago under Fichter. They can get back with the help of the intangibles.
Team chemistry is a huge thing in high school football, and I think this team actually likes each other. They like to practice. They like hanging out with each other, and that goes a long way.
How can you impact that as a head coach?
You hire people like Chris Battaglia. You hire like the staff that I have that interacts with kids at every level, and it just makes it a great place to be.
1 minute. Hey,
Freddie June threw for 3 touchdowns and ran 62 yards for another in Irondequoit's statement win of the year so far, 34-14 over Canandaigua. We would like to thank our sponsors, especially the 11 dealerships of the Vision Automotive Group. They make the Sports Beat possible. As do you. Thanks once again for watching. We'll see you next week with the Vision High School Sports Beat.